All right, guys, we are here to go through week 12 of Gargoyles, where we will be looking at episodes 32, 33, 34, 35. Just double check to see what the names of those episodes are because I got caught out there this week.
We both did, actually.
So sorry for any confusion, but definitely look at the names of the episodes because sometimes they will put them depending on where they're airing, they will be switched around. So this episode, then let's see if we can get this on stage. This episode is episode 32, The Hound of Ulster. On the previously on, it shows Bronx, who is being asked to come along on the trip with Goliath. It also displays the group of them that are together now, saying goodbye to Gabriel and Tom at Avalon. And so, I've been noticing these previously ons are really just giving you a hint of what is to come in the episode. And there have been a couple of them where I thought, well, wait, they're going to be focusing on certain things, and yet they don't. They change. They focus on something else. Like for this one, I thought for sure they were going to be focusing in on Tom because they mention him a couple of times and they show him a couple of times, but it's not about Tom at all.
Okay, I actually did find, apparently there's a Gargoyles wiki fandom. I should have found it by now. In the original, I apologize to any Irish people. My Irish is bad. I only married into it, so it's not my native. In the original Cuchulainn legends, the Hound of Ulster was actually Cuchulainn's title. It was ascribed to him because of his faithful defense of Ulster, the kingdom of his uncle Crunchobar. Again, I know I'm saying that wrong. And as an echo of his name, Cuchulainn, meaning Hound of I'm bad at Irish words.
Yeah, me too.
But apparently there is a book about this as well.
Oh, wow.
It's an Irish folklore, so.
Mm-hmm. Oh, sweet. So, and that's what I like about this show. There is more to all of these little things that they have. There's actual history behind it, and some of it I know, some of it I don't know. And so, like this is, it sort of gives a teaching lesson as you go on and watch the story. So, I didn't know. I've never heard of Ulster before. I've never heard of
That
Cuchulainn.
apparently is a town in Ireland.
Mm-hmm.
So I found that out today too. Yeah, but that's what I really love about this journey that a bunch of them are on.
Yeah.
Is they are exploring myths and legends from those particular regions.
Yeah. And it's really, really amazing, and I'm definitely here for it. It starts out. Let's see. Very interesting. A couple escapes the cops, and the girl Molly has stolen a jacket. And Rory, the guy here, is sort of a misguided youth. He's, I mean, they kind of do this really, really fast, but he builds up this sort of background story for himself where he's like, I don't have any skills, I don't have any place I don't have any ambition, there's nothing to do. So he's really feeling like worthless in a way. And Molly is sort of like, hey, well, why don't we get away from here? Let's go to America. Let's get out of this town and let's do something else. And he's just doesn't even think he'll be worthy even there. So it's just really, it's like, wow, this poor kid. Um, they they part ways, and they go home in separate direction, but they hear howling, this howling sound, and so they're like, is that the Hound of Ulster? And it's not. It's just Bronx.
Well,
It looks
they
like.
do it. They do it like admit that that is a legend that they grew up on, that our parents have told them over and over again.
Yeah. So it's something that is baked in their culture and myth, and it's not been something that they've seen every day, but they've heard about it. And so hearing this howling is making them, think, "Oh my goodness, are the myths true?" And it's just Bronx. And the clan, it turns out that the Manhattan clan has washed up on shore, and they once they arrive there, they start to hear this shrieking singing. It's really it gets right into your ear drum, I'll tell you that. And they're trying to find out where it's coming from or stop it because it's really annoying. And they all fall into this quicksand. But only Bronx is the one to kind of survive that uh, quicksand. So we're led to believe that something has happened to them. They kind of disappear into the quicksand, and Bronx is on his own and trying to figure out. So he's howling, and
He catches her scent fast, though.
yeah, yeah, yeah. He's sniffing around trying to find out, find where it's going now. And I noticed this with Bronx. He is very good at tracking, and they use him a lot for tracking, in a lot of the stories. And even there's one story, and that we'll get to, where he's kind of like tracking, and nobody's actually watching where he's tracking. I'm like,
Again, that
he's
happens a
right
lot.
there. Yeah,
Like, even in the one where that one multi-part episode where they're in David Xanatos' castle, and he's like, "Can you stop him from scratching at that tapestry?"
yeah. Pay attention to what he's doing.
And it happens again in another one later on where they're like, "Just stop it. There's nothing there."
Yeah,
Is
yeah. No,
don't give him credit. Don't discredit him because he doesn't actually talk.
yeah, yeah, and I think that's the thing is that they just think he's a big doggy, but he's really
Oh,
quite
he's a big
smart.
doggy.
Yeah, I mean he is a big doggy, but he's also great, quite quite smart, and he's really an excellent tracker. And so this Rory guy from earlier, he goes home and he talks to his dad, and he's like, um, he's very, very negative. Like he's like his dad is trying to like inspire him, like, hey, why don't you do this? Why don't you do that? He's really like down on everything. He just hasn't found his place in the world, if you will, and he feels like an outsider. Um,
Yeah, the fact
like
that he says multiple times, well, when somebody says, make something of yourself, do something. It's like you can't make something from nothing.
yeah.
And that is something
Oh,
I
it's
think
hard.
would resonate with a lot of people.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And even though I think, and this is bringing up a big question, which is like we can do a complete talk about this, but just gently speaking, oh, there's a lot of people who feel that way, and there's a lot of people who, when you try to, or if anybody tries to tell them otherwise, that they just can't believe that they are worth anything, and which is super sad.
It,
Um,
it is the hardest thing to see the things in yourself that other people see, because we
yeah.
are our own worst critic and our biggest enemy.
Yeah. And also there are many people who are kind of telling other people, yeah, you're not that big of a deal. Like it's like, okay, well, psychologically, where are you supposed to sit as a human being? Somewhere in the middle, I suppose, where you believe you can do stuff, but you don't believe that you can do anything.
Mhm.
Which it takes a bit of a dance to to get between those things. But back to the story, which I love the fact that we kind of gently talk about that kind of thing. Angela, Goliath, and Elisa wake up and find themselves in an underground cave of some sort. It's not quite underground, but they're encased in stone, and they try to get out of there, but they can't seem to move anything. So it looks pretty dire. They're trying to figure out what's happening, and the story doesn't stay with them. It goes back to Rory, and he's out and about, and he encounters Bronx in the woods. And when he does, he panics and falls into sort of like a little recess. And so it kind of leaves you with this cliffhanger of what's going to happen as Bronx is looking down at this kid um, who's fallen. Then it goes back to there's a lot of bouncing around. Lots of bouncing around. Then it goes back to the banshee who appears to the clan and says that that there's a gathering that is approaching, and Oberon wants his children to return to Avalon. What did you think about when she said that?
The one that jumped out at me is she said that she could smell Avalon on them.
Yes, yes.
I'm not even sure why that one jumped out at me, but it must be some sort of like second sense that only the magic folk pick up.
Yeah, yeah. It's got to be. And Avalon has been touching them a lot because, if you will, being in these waters and being guided by Avalon, if you will, Avalon's waters, they are. Avalon is still having a strong effect on everyone. So I think that's also part of it. Like the magic from Avalon is encasing them until they're done with this quest, you know. So
and it does speak volumes about how long she's been here, that she doesn't even believe them when they say, we never met him.
yeah,
We never met Oberon.
yeah, because he's dormant right now, isn't he? I mean,
he hasn't made his appearance known at this point.
yeah, yeah. It's just his children doing his naughty stuff.
Children
His
acting out
naughty
because
children.
dad's not watching.
Yeah. So he wants his children to return to Oberon. She is very emphatic. She is not going back, even if it means her dying. She will not go back, and she thinks that Oberon has sent them to go get her, and she attacks them with her singing at this point, which is really. What did you think about her singing?
That is actually, I did like that, because there's conflicting beliefs when it comes to banshees, that some think that it's just a herald of death in the family when you hear that, and others believe that it could, like, that when you hear the banshee, that it's going to be your death.
Ooh.
So the fact that they nicely did kind of blended both beliefs into this whole character. I was really fond of that as somebody who's a big fan of all of these mythical monsters.
Yeah, I had no idea about that. And I would love to dig further, much deeper into that, that mythology.
Between you and I, we could do a whole separate series on just, classic monsters, and like between movies and other type stuff.
Yeah. Because they're just incredible. I do love the classics, and well, it looks like Bronx they go back to Bronx, and he actually saves Rory, and Rory is starting to trust him and realize that there's no danger. You're just a big puppy.
When he woke up to Bronx licking his face, you know, I had to laugh because his first reaction was still, you know,
Yeah, like
freaking out and running
ah.
away.
Sorry about that.
No worries.
Yes. He was very much afraid and terrified, but I love the transformation of slowly softening and realizing, oh, wait a minute, there's no danger, and maybe we should work together. Um, and
Yeah, looking at the cliff that he felt that he's in, and he's like, you got me into this. How are you going to get me out?
yeah. And he gets on his back and
Mhm.
climbs out of there, which is awesome. I do love the whole thing with the gargoyles being able to dig into the stone and climb up any all these surfaces, and it actually means something uh later on into the episodes, but in this one in particular, that's how he's able to climb up out of that ravine or that little rock crevice, and get them out of there. But he also wants he wants Rory to help him find, or he wants to lead Rory to the clan to get them some
Mhm.
help, because he can sense them and track them, and so Rory does kind of follow to see where things are, where he's being led to, and the Banshee hears Bronx and attacks Rory. What surprised me very much is that Rory, I guess he blanks out, and then Rory just wakes up the next day.
Oh,
Did I miss something?
but
Yeah, it's like,
just before that, I mean, as they get closer to her lair,
mhm.
for lack of a better, he starts getting images. And he's like, I need to get in there. I need to get in there. And his girlfriend suddenly appears out of nowhere, and
Yes, yes, she just appears out of nowhere, and it's like, wait a minute, that was my first like inkling, like, is the Banshee and um it connected somehow to Molly, and even still, even after the story is over, I'm still wondering that, which is not is not a bad thing, but it's
yeah.
something that I was wondering. But Rory wakes up the next day, and he's been having bad dreams as well. And he's like, I've been seeing these images, and he tells his dad about them, and then his dad is saying, "Hey, well, that sounds like Kukula's tune," uh, and which I have never heard of Kukullan before, and that's
Not
part of that.
yeah, that is an Irish legend apparently.
Mhm.
A quick Google search. But yeah, neither have I. It's I admit I haven't dived heavily into Irish
Yeah, yeah. I mean,
folklore.
but you did mention it earlier
Mhm.
with the whole um, um, Ulster uh, background story, and so it's really kind of fascinating. I'm like, what is what is all of this? Because it all means something. And then Rory says that he's gonna go. There's something. He says this. There's something in there that belongs to me.
Mhm.
And I thought that was fascinating. I was like, oh, what he's being drawn there instinctively to this place, and this was the first time he actually shows a desire for something passionately,
Mhm.
because before I was like, no, I'm a nobody, Even even his dad is, you would hear, something like this from somebody who comes from a family or a place where no one supports him. But even his father is saying, "Hey, you can be something." And all the time he's like, "Oh, nobody." But now he's sort of gaining this new confidence and this new, um, like sense of like something greater. And I absolutely love that. And he asked Molly to come along with him because she was in his dream as well. He knows that she's connected to this somehow. And while he's in Cuchulain's dream tomb, he finds a, a, a special, um, what would you call it? It's like a weapon.
Well,
Uh,
you see this flash of light, and he automatically knows what it is. He's like, it's the spear of light. I know he calls it by another name as well, but I won't, subject you guys to my poor Gaelic or whatever. Not my strong point. So yeah, he reaches out to it, and as soon as he touches it, he knows the words he has to say to
Yes.
be turned from Rory to what we're looking at right now.
Mhm. And it turns out that Rory is a reincarnation of Cuchulainn, and the Banshee has been pretending to be Molly this whole time. And well, we're not sure if it's this whole time, but at least in this
Yep.
iteration that we see, and she is trying to stop him from essentially finding out who he truly is, and also since she failed at that, it turns into this huge ordeal where she turns into Crumb Crack, who is a worm monster, and it's there's like a huge battle that emerges from that, and Cuchulainn, Rory, essentially defeats her and frees the gargoyles are freed in the process of all of this, and also helps in the battle, especially Angela. So yeah, this is really great. I think this is kind of typical of a gargoyles episode, right?
Mhm.
Um, it is, we get the lore and the mythology, and then we get like um, uh, usually a character that has a huge arc, and then we also have like some, like maybe 1 to 2 action pieces that really are spectacular. So yeah, that was the episode, and it was fantastic. I really liked it. And it was, I would say, the average quality of this
Mhm.
series, which is like uh, no less than an 8.5. If you were rating it, I would say a 9. Um, it's really great. Now the next episode is the Walkabout, episode 33, which I was like, what? This title really, I was very confused about this title. Did you have any clues or any kind of ideas about this title at all?
Initially, no.
No, yeah.
And again, like I know I've already said it here, but this is the nice thing about these things is we get to learn more about the various cultures that
Mhm.
they explore.
Yeah, yeah. Um, and we get a, let's see, yeah, we get a previously on, where Fox and Renard are talking to each other, and Fox reveals her pregnancy. And then there's a small clip about Dingo and about the time of when they all get their upgrades, that the pack gets their upgrades, and then it ends there. The first thing is the group, uh, they end up on Australia.
Mhm.
Uh, and so they,
That's one of the fastest "Where are we's" that they've done.
yeah, where are we?
Where are we? Kangaroo
And
comes by.
the kangaroo gave it away, and that was really cool. They hit land, and soon as pretty much not very much after they land, there's this silver liquid that comes out of the ground and starts covering everything it touches. And the things that it touches, it kind of crystallizes, and um, it looks very scary. It looks
Mhm.
very, very scary. I was like, what's going on here? Um, and the clan barely escape. Uh, it turns out that Dingo is in the very area in which all of this is happening, and he's actually speaking with a shaman
Mhm.
who is like a local shaman who tells him that he must go on the walkabout in order to find the dream time, which is a parallel universe, in order to free his soul. And at this point, he's not wearing his suit, in which we see here, and that was part of the upgrades. Now, just to go back to the upgrades, everybody in the pack had pretty much done something horribly awful to their bodies in order to transform into these, killing machines that they've become. Um, and he decided, no, I want to reserve my humanity, or preserve my uh, humanity, and just wear a robot suit that I can
Mhm.
just get inside of, which is a smart idea, and it's a pretty effective piece of machinery. And he actually bumps into the clan while he's doing his, walkabout, and they really just like, "Oh, you're here? Oh no!" And they sort of they start fighting immediately, and and so unfortunately, Dingo's doing okay, but he actually summons his suit, and that he really gives them a run for their money when he puts on that suit. And so I was like, wow, they're having a hard time dealing with him just in that suit. Wow. Uh, that's pretty impressive. And meanwhile, back at the lab, some underground lab somewhere. It turns out that Fox is involved with an experiment that's happening to do with this liquid um, stuff, this liquid thing.
Sorry,
Oh
needed to
yeah,
take
yeah,
care of
good.
something.
Oh yeah, yeah. um, and so it turns out that Fox is leading an experiment to with this. It turns out that Fox is leading an experiment with this liquid substance,
Mhm.
uh, and it turns out that her mom is working alongside her, Anastasia Renard, who is a very, very impressive scientist. And do you know that who she's being played by?
Yeah, Catherine Mulgrew,
Yeah.
Captain Janeway.
Yes, yes, and which is great. You can't mistake that voice.
Yeah,
And
and it's the same with the shaman, because that's the legendary James Avery. As soon as he
oh
starts talking, you're like,
yes,
"Oh my
yes,
god, it's
yes.
Dr. Phil. It's Uncle Phil."
Yeah, I do. Yeah, the voices in these are just great. And so yes, it's let's see. So yeah, it turns out that this liquid is really miniature AI, that they call the Matrix, and it came out before the Matrix, the movie The Matrix, and
Mhm.
this Matrix is just like little nanobots that have self-replicating capabilities, and that to me is really fascinating. eh, I think we're all anticipating a future where such things are possible. And so
anticipating, dreading. I don't know. I know they
Yeah,
do have some nanotechnology right now, but
yeah,
not to the extent of what we see in this show.
yeah. Not to the extent. This is scary stuff, and we'll find out why it's scary. Not only because they just start attacking the Manhattan clan right away, and they don't even ask any questions, and who knows what they can or will do to them once they've captured them. So Dingo and the clan actually like stop fighting and figure out that the silver stuff is actually nanobots that are self-replicating. And even though it looks like Dingo's there kind of like that he's there, he doesn't seem to really know what he's discovering this alongside the clan. So
Mhm.
there is a measure of not really knowing what's going on. So they know that they have to work together. Now Anastasia is very, very um, concerned about this batch of nanobots. She's really thinking that they should start over. And she can finally, after a while, convinces Fox to do just that. And I think this is when I believe the Matrix kind of overhears this or understands that they're being threatened and decides that they are going to take over or do their own thing. And they start to take over the entire complex. They take over. It's super, super scary because
Mhm.
they completely take over the entire structure. And Fox and Anastasia barely escape with their lives, and they actually find Dingo and the clan um, and the shaman, and they all kind of work together finally. And Dingo and Angela and Goliath try to make an attempt to reverse the situation, and um, by actually engaging with the with the Matrix, but they fail. And it seems like this is something that the shaman already knew that would happen. What did you think about that?
He was a very fascinating character
Hmm.
because the insight he had made no sense on how he would know this stuff.
Yes. Yes. I mean, he's basically the whole time he's just looking into the fire. He's like stoking a fire and looking into it, and he's just spouting all of this wisdom. But like, how does he know that stuff? Is
Mhm.
he one of Oberon's children? I mean, it's totally possible. We don't know anything.
But
Um,
that is what's fascinating about shamans,
mhm.
is those who actually are trained have this. It's almost like they're tapped into another bout of knowledge that we don't have.
Mhm. Yeah.
It is fascinating to watch them.
Mhm. Yeah, yeah. And then I felt that from this character because he's like, nope, that's not gonna work. I was like, okay. Then the shaman says that they can only defeat the Matrix by communicating with it, which he had said this before, but
He
it
talked with.
went kind of un explored. Is that he's like you just have to talk to them, and he's been saying this pretty much the whole time. Now, Dingo and Goliath, he says that they have to go into the dream time and to fight with the Matrix, and then start to talk with it. And so um, this is, as we explained a little bit earlier, it is a place that is a parallel universe, and this place is beautiful. this dreamscape. It's fantastic.
Mhm.
It reminds me of the inner world of Coldstone. Where there's like all this like fantasy stuff going on here. So yeah, I thought this was wonderful. Like these dream times and other inner worlds that they play a part in reality. And so within this world, they do have this fight, kind of like a gentle fight with not too intense with the Matrix, but then they start to talk to the Matrix and they're getting through a little bit. But what there's something that Dingo says that really makes a big difference. And he says that he mentions law and order, and that was the thing that really kind of makes the Matrix say, tell me more about this thing.
Mhm.
And just to kind of backtrack a little bit, the Matrix was made to create order in the world, and so the idea is that they think that creating order in the world is just to assimilate everything into this veneer of themselves, and it's not right.
Mhm.
The world just needs to be itself, and the order is that it doesn't destroy itself, right? Not to things that don't destroy, um, uh, to stop people from destroying the world and stop the world from destroying itself. And so that makes a big impression on the creature once Dingo starts to talk about um, law and order, and somehow that it makes a lot of sense. And then Dingo reveals that he misses the life of being a hero from the beginning of the story, where the pack was, they were television stars, but they were also seen as heroes. He was like, I missed that.
Mhm.
And Fox kind of gives him like a pat, like, ah, that's. What did you think about that moment when he revealed that?
When he first started talking with the shaman, he did talk about, cleansing his soul and all of that.
Yes.
W So there was that suggestion of he was feeling regretful about the stuff he had done.
Mhm.
You know, when we find out that he was working with Fox, it was a little frankly, for me, it was a little disappointing.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
But to
Because
see him, like, trying to, take advantage, not take advantage, um, continuing with what we saw, like, I guess was in his inner desire
yeah.
of to truly be the hero that people once saw him as
Hmm.
when he really wasn't. That's like a nice redemption arc.
Yeah. Yeah. I really like that a lot. And really, it's you can assume a lot about people,
Mhm.
and you could get into the wrong situation where you're realizing like, oh, maybe I shouldn't be following or hanging out with these people. Maybe they're not really for me. And then
Yeah, they are nuts.
yeah, I mean, because he, like, of all of the people, I mean, like we had talked about before, of all of the pack that wanted to do upgrades, he was the one who said, "No, I'm gonna keep my own body, and I'm gonna, try to do it, do things differently. I'm not gonna make those. Uh, I'm not gonna sacrifice my humanity. My
He he's
humanity.
been he's been a little separate from the pack the entire time.
Yeah,
Even in that initial encounter, he was the first one to say, "This is not what I signed up for."
yeah, yeah, yeah. You're right. You're right. And see, like, okay, so this is why I love the writing in this show, is
Mhm.
because like they set that up from the beginning, exactly who this character was from season one. And it's like it maybe they hit a hint of it, you get a hint of it here, a hint of it there, and now we get the full rounded story of who Dingo really is. It's wonderful. This is wonderful. And so yeah, he's it's impressing this um the matrix here,
Hmm.
and it decides like, oh yeah, I'll join you. And at first he was like, oh, let's be partners, but then it just attaches itself to him as an outfit, or um as a suit. And
Hmm.
I was very like, wow, were you weirded out by this moment, or I was
Honestly,
like, what?
I think it's a color upgrade.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it definitely tells you like this is the good version of Dingo and not the other one who,
Hmm.
but at the same time, um he said, "Oh, let's be partners," and they shake hands. I thought he was going to be like on his own, they would be separate, but like to actually join and to be a part of his robotic suit was very eh, eh, alarming to me. But it does make sense, because now he's gonna finally be a hero from now on. He's no longer going to be working for Xanatos. He's separated himself from that. This being that's now attached itself to him
Hmm.
is going to keep him in check too. Make sure he doesn't fall off the wagon, but also helps him to stick to this new way of life that he's approaching. So I do love that. I thought it was wonderful, and a big surprise, a huge surprise, and a welcome one. I enjoyed this. What about you?
There we go. Um, no, it's it, I can understand why he would join, like why he would join up onto the suit, because it would be less alarming seeing this versus being followed around by T1000.
Yes, basically, right?
It's like, your buddy's a pile of goo, right?
Oh man, yes, 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 yes. T1000. And yes, and that's kind of interesting, because it's this thing is self-replicating. It could do a lot of damage,
Mhm.
but with the humanity added with Dingo, just keeps that creature in check as well. So
Yeah.
there's a lot of things going on. I mean, this is its own spin-off, you know what I mean? The Adventures of Dingo and Matrix. And it really
I
is
think there's
like
a lot
it.
of scientists that should go back and watch this episode, because this is AI technology with nanotechnology. Someone needs
Yes.
to watch this and take notes.
Yes, yes, yes. Because without context, um, there needs to be the humanity aspect to the to this sort of cold decision making, and that's what we hope our future will be. We're crossing our fingers on that. And so it ends with the shaman staring into the fire. And I just wonder what he sees. And I also wonder about this character. Is this character one of Oberon's children? Because he seems to know so much. And it's just a great way to add yet another interesting character
Mhm.
into the fold. Um,
I don't recall seeing him again,
mhm.
which is a shame, because anytime we
Oh,
get to hear James Avery's voice is you know
yeah.
needed. I think he's just a local, um, God, what do they call them? Aboriginal,
Mhm.
local Aboriginal shaman,
Mhm.
and that's like, he is clearly gifted, but with sight, but I
Mhm.
don't think he is one of Oberon's children.
Okay. So cross that off. Not one of Ron's children. Definitely. I mean, I'm just impressed by the way these guys are writing these stories. It's
Mhm.
just Just cool. This was a welcome surprise. Um, well, yeah, that's the end of this episode. We it is really intense, and I try to take as many pictures for the slideshow as possible. But yeah, we'll see if it works out. We'll see. Sorry. To start off, I did not have a whole lot of pictures, but um, it's we start with the previously on, and previously on, Matt is learning about the gargoyles. That's what I thought it was really
Mhm.
showing me, but it was actually about Elisa keeping the gargoyles a secret, as I realized,
Yeah.
as a
Why
sort
didn't
of
she tell
after.
me about this sooner? She's like,
Yes,
I just wanted to keep it a secret for myself.
yeah, yeah. She enjoys keeping secrets. I mean, I'm like that too. I like having a secret and like no one knowing about it. There's something special because it's yours, and then once you release it, kind of it
I,
becomes
I, th-
everybody else's.
I think that is definitely something that goes with being a sibling.
Mhm.
You know, that need to have something that's uniquely yours.
Yes, yes, yes. And she has quite a few siblings in the story. She comes
Yeah,
from
she's I think one of three.
yeah, yeah.
I think she's the
And
oldest, but it's 100% something I recognize having two siblings I grew up with, and
mm,
then a whole bunch of step siblings coming in the picture.
yeah, yeah. And I do myself love secrets. I mean, how do you get to know people other than when you do reveal these little these little secrets? It kind of is like a bonding moment for you to share that with somebody, but
Mhm.
also having the secret makes it yours, and you're the only one who knows about it. You're special, um,
I think
in a
I
way.
think
So
for me that's like the real sign of intimacy when you're ready to let
oh
people
yeah,
see that side of you that you generally don't let the rest of the world see.
yeah, yeah. And I think a lot of times people are like upset if you don't share a secret early enough or whatever. It's like secrets are you're supposed to gently reveal them when the time is right. But then at some point,
Never
depending on what
happens
it
in this
is,
show.
yeah, if it's not, depending on the timing, maybe, um, if you don't do it in the right time slot, sometimes it's withholding a secret, or withholding information that's important, which is something you can't do morally, I think, if
Mhm,
it matters to somebody else in a significant way. So there is something about holding a secret, but you can't hold a secret for too long,
mhm.
if it matters to somebody else. And so that was something that was in just the previously on, and in sort of hindsight, remembering it like, oh, that was something. And then it also in the previously on, Goliath is also telling Angela that he has no special parentage over her, even though he is her biological father. and
Mhm.
and I thought, I was like, wow, that's a lot in the previously on. Are we going to cover all of this? And the answer is absolutely yes.
Yeah. They cover some very heavy topics in this one.
Yes, that's why it's my favorite already. It's just like
Mhm.
they took a huge bite, and decided, we're gonna go through all of these different topics, and I think there's at least four different storylines going on in this story, this
Mhm.
one episode, and it's only like what 22 minutes or something to that effect. I'm like, great job. I just like standing ovation for this episode. It starts out really with a lot of action. These hunters are chasing after a panther, and and they're actually more like poachers.
That's what
They
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 are, yeah.
just yeah, they just want to kill the animal, take the things that they can sell, and leave the meat and whatever's left. It's really awful and disgusting to see something like this. And there is a woman that's with them, and her name is Taya, and she's a pretty much a leader in all this. She's not running. Would you say she's running the show? But she's also
She's definitely kind of pushing them
yeah
to do this. It's not
yeah
quite she's running the show, but
yeah
it sometimes with us women, we don't exactly approach things in the most gentle fashion when we're motivated about something.
And she's very motivated, very motivated. She really impressed me. But
We also do see initially that she has like little tattoo on her shoulder.
yeah, she does have a tattoo of three like almost bright blue marks, and we're kind of in the dark about what that means. So the clan enters. Actually, the clan encounters a waterfall that's really rough, and there's like a whole sequence of them just just trying to survive this waterfall. And it's like, how do they manage to squeeze this in the episode too? They survived this thing, and they end up washed up on shore, and
The
trying to
fact
figure
that the
out.
boat is okay, it just still it bothers me.
Well, okay, well, that is a magical boat, and and there's something that happens 2 episodes coming up that
Mhm.
to do with that boat, in which I'm like, "Oh, okay." So we're gonna talk about that boat. It's magical. It's magical, or it's at least protected, as we talked about before, protected by Avalon's magic,
Mhm.
maybe. And so that may be the case with that boat. And so uh let's see. So they're washed up on land, and they're trying to figure out where are we? And they're like, oh, wait a minute, this may be Africa. We're not sure. And
At this
so
point,
they're like,
the where are we question that starts all of these episodes.
yeah,
It's getting entertaining. Where are
yeah,
we? In trouble.
yes. And so Elisa figures out that they must be in Africa. And one of the things that they witness is a carcass of a poached animal. And it shocks them, and they're very disturbed by this. Um, and so the series, this series is announcing this as a problem. So they're gently approaching this awareness of poachers and what it means to the animal life in in Africa. And so that was kind of a cool little moment.
Mhm.
Um, so the next thing is that Elisa um, is looking on in the bushes, and there's a lady who is telling a story to children about the Panther Queen. But we don't find out later. But we also recognize her voice. It's Elisa's mom.
Mhm.
And she's telling a story about the Panther Queen. And at first, I thought, well, this is a story that's interesting and cool. And I was waiting for it to be over so that way I could go to the next thing to talk about in our thing here. But it is important because the rest of the story really depends on this story so
Yes.
heavily. And so when you saw just going back to when you saw Elisa's mother telling the sitting there, what were your impressions of that, of noticing, hey, we're in another country, possibly Africa, and there's Elisa's mother.
I mean, Lisa did mention before we see the woman telling about the story of the Panther Queen. She did mention like, well, this possibly Africa. My mother is Nigerian, so we have visited a couple times.
Yeah.
So there was that nice subtle lead into that.
Hmm.
I I will admit I really loved the story though of the Panther and the fact they shifted animation for this,
Yes.
because there was a show my daughter and I watched when she was younger, and it was a Tales of Africa type show where it was
Mm,
all about these legends
yeah.
and how this character became, how this creature became how we know them today.
Hmm.
And it was a similar animation style. So there was just a nice little, not
Interesting.
quite nostalgia. I'll
Hmm.
look up the name of it later, but
Yeah, this is actually really cool because I did notice that and loved it too. As you can see, the photo here of the panther. This is not the style that we are used to seeing gargoyles being animated as, and it is really endearing to
mhm.
see the switch. And it tells you, say, subconsciously, this is a tale. And so the Panther
Specifically
Queen,
an African tale,
yes.
because it's got that feel to it in the animation style.
Yes, and I was thinking the other day, I was like, when there is talk about diversity in films and TV, and I think a lot of people, this is what they really want. It's like these stories where they're actually like pertaining to the folklore and the history and so on.
Tinga Tinga Tales, that's it.
What's it called?
Tinga Tinga Tales.
Oh, wow, cool. Okay, thanks for looking that
Again,
up.
it's a very similar animation style, so my mind automatically jumped to it.
Okay. Yeah, I've
Mm.
never seen it. Will have to look that up. So the story of the Panther Queen is about a panther that loved being a panther. And was so beautiful.
Mhm.
And there was a horrible um, situation where a spider transformed her into a human being, a human uh, princess, I believe she was. And so, um, and he did it out of spite, but also he also wanted to. Did they establish that the spider wanted her to do something for him?
In order, because rolling back a bit, he turned her into a human because she was tormenting everyone else. You know,
Yeah,
really,
she was
she
she was
she was
annoying.
being a bully.
Yeah, she was
and
annoying.
when she shredded Anasi's spider web,
Hmm.
he's like, mm-mm. And he turns her into a human.
Yeah.
And when she realizes all of her beautiful panther features are gone, her sharp teeth, her claws, her beautiful coat, all of that, she's like, no, 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 turn me back, turn me back. And he's like, okay, well, but first you need to build me a city that
Yeah.
looks like a spider web.
Okay, yes, and that actually comes, but, while she's a human, right, right? While she's a human, she actually gets married to somebody and
Well,
becomes.
she recognizes she can't do this on her own.
Yeah.
So
Oh, is he okay,
she
so
finds this chief, and you know they have kids, and that's how the city gets built.
okay, so I'm getting it wrong. Okay,
It's
so
okay.
if
I live
he
for these kind of stories.
okay, so he he built, um he asked her as a human, in order to turn back into a human, she has to build him a city.
Yeah, turn back into a
And
panther. She has to build the spider web city. And give me a second. I will remember. I will find out what the name of the city was.
oh, Kara Digi.
Thank you.
Well, that's the one thing I remember. Kara Digi. I was like, "Ooh, cool!" A city that looks like a spider web, which is really great.
Actually, I'm curious
And
if that's a real thing.
um, oh yeah, I'll wait for you to find out.
It's okay. Go on. I will do a quick search.
And So as a human, she really feels still she doesn't feel good in this form. She wants to still be a panther. So she says, "Please turn me back into a panther." And he says, "Okay." And she also says, "And I want one of my children to be. I want one of my children to accompany me." Oh no no! And did she ask for one of her children, or did she ask?
She originally wanted all of her children.
Yes. And he just said, "Hey, look, I'll give you one." And so she marks her oldest son, who initially didn't want to be marked. And so he was very, very upset at that. But then he realizes, oh, the spider.
Anansi, who is voiced by LeVar Burton, and I didn't even catch that. I only found out looking up the episode. When she says, "I miss my children. I want you to turn them all into panthers so they can run with me." He's like, I'll let you have one, but you need to hunt for me.
Yes. And that's the key element. He wants someone to do the hunting for him and be and so he can get fat too. Or he just wants to he doesn't
Literally.
want to do the hunting for himself. And so this is part of his thing, is having slaves to do the hunting for him, and he doesn't have to do it. And now she's been doing some of the hunting for him already, and so he's been getting a little bit fat along the way.
And when he's willing to grant her wish,
Mhm.
she goes and she marks her eldest son, which they explain is the most beautiful of them
Mhm.
and the bravest, all of that. But that's also Anansi's favorite, so he doesn't want to lose his favorite of the kids.
Yes.
And so he tricks the son into going to hunt the panther that marked him.
Yes. And that is actually kind of an interesting moment, because as he's about to strike the final blow, he realizes that he knows that this is love. This is
It's
the
like he
reason why he was
recognizes his
marked.
mother.
Yeah, he recognizes his mother, and he knows that this is the reason why she marked him is because she loves him and
Mm-hmm.
he loves her. And so they that was pretty much the end of that portion of the story. But the spider and Nancy
Mm-hmm.
decided that he was wanted to kick all of the people out of Karadigi, and because I don't know why he did that, because then there was no one to hunt for him. But he seems to be, um, it seems to be the end of the story. And so the end of the story is that the spider went hungry, and that was that was it. That was it. And I was like, okay. So that's setting up what is to come, and uh, we don't know that. We think it's a cute little story at this point. But as we know, with gargoyles, all these stories matter. And
Mm-hmm.
so after the ceremony, there's a guy by the name of Pharaoh Maku, who is one of the villagers in charge, and he says that they're going to free a caged panther in honor of the Panther Queen after the ceremony. So this is going to be a lot of fun for the village to do this. And Elisa then makes her appearance, like, "Mom," out of nowhere. And you think that this is going to be a moment. They're like, "Oh, so great to see you," but of course, being a mom, she's
True
like,
mom fashion.
"What
What
the
the heck?
heck?"
Where have you been?
Yeah,
And why are you in Africa? We've
yeah,
been worried sick about you, young lady.
yeah. It's incredible, because I was like, okay, I can see. That's the actual response a mother would give, like, like, what is going on? And why haven't you been,
You scared the heck out of me. And
yeah.
your father.
And Angela asks Goliath why Elisa doesn't just tell her mother about the gargoyles. But Goliath says that Elisa doesn't like to share her secrets. And I was like, oh, interesting that he could recognize that from her almost immediately.
Mm,
And Angela then takes a really strong dig at Goliath and says, "Oh yeah, well I."
yeah. There shouldn't be secrets between parents and children.
hint, 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 hint. And he is like, he looks at her, he gives her that look. I love when he gives her that look. Like, you know, you're a little fresh right there, but I'll allow it.
Ignoring you.
So yeah, that was great. And I give them such props for having that moment, that little moment. It's such a small moment, but it's like it could be easily overlooked, but it was setting up more for the future. And so the thing that really takes this scene to the next level is that Taya decides to show up and she goes ballistic trying to shoot the tiger that they have caged up.
Panther.
And oh, sorry, why did I put tiger?
I don't know.
The panther.
Technically, any large cat could be a panther, but that's a whole.
Ooh, okay.
Panther is just about the melanated coat.
Mm-hmm,
So
yes.
you could literally have a lion that's a panther.
Well, yes, and in this case, it's the panther that.
Yeah. Leopard. Yeah.
And Farah Maku tries to stop her, and he then, right in front of our eyes, turns into a panther. It's wonderful. I was like, yes, we've got some were-panthers in the mix.
Yeah, and as soon as he does, Taya loses it.
Oh,
It
yeah.
was you.
Yeah. There is something between Taya and Faramaku, and she goes nuts. And at this point, I'm trying to think what's happening. I know that we noticed the 3 marks in on her, especially in these scenes, but it just doesn't really fully connect until later.
And if you go back in your images to when they were telling the story, you see and you captured it. And I don't think you did it intentionally. That the Panther Queen has the same marks on her in panther form.
Oh, let's see.
Back a bit more. There you go.
Yes, there it is, right there.
And again, you don't make the mental connection between the two of them. And this is one of those things that's really fantastic about the show is that they sneak things in that seem so inconsequential at the moment, but they play a big factor later.
Yeah. And it's almost like somebody is looking at every single thing that they did, even from season 1, and just like taking it to the next level. And it's done in a way that doesn't feel like fan service, because some of the stuff you totally forget. But if you remember, like if you go back, like, oh my God, they set this up in season 1. It's great. It's just great. It's just great. And so, yeah, there's, and so you don't really connect the idea of, when seeing it on Taya, that something, maybe she's part of a clan or a group of people who are after panthers. The mind is kind of races with possibilities of what may be the situation, but it's starting to become a little bit clear. And yes, he's a panther, and she goes after him, and it's an incredible chase. And the way she chases after him is insane. Like, she slides down rocks, and I was like, wow, this lady is incredible.
And she's doing this all while holding this big pew pew.
Yeah, yeah. It was wonderful. I was like, wow, she could have her own series. She's incredibly capable. And the gargoyles, show up and they make themselves known to everybody because they are trying to help out at this insane moment that's happening. And Elisa's mom is like, these guys? She's like, yeah, they're my friends. And this is her secret. And so one thing I loved was that her mom says that most, she's like, oh, I thought these were legends. And Goliath says most legends contain seeds of truth. And I was like, ooh, that's so good. That's so good.
Mhm.
And uh, we go back to Taya like viciously chasing after Faramaku and is about to kill him. And Goliath shows up just in time, grabs her, but it is one of the most incredible moments I have seen. He basically stops her from killing him, but in midair, she turns into a panther. And that was something I was like, I was very surprised to see. And there's a moment there where she kind of like hits him with her paw, which is just
Yeah.
like a cat. Just like a cat. Like meow, meow. And so I thought for sure, I was like, oh no, I hope that she didn't just mark um Goliath, and that would be interesting to see him turn into a panther as well. But yeah, no, that doesn't happen. It was just a warning slap, a typical
Yeah.
kitty paw smackaroo, and he drops her, but and just sort of backs away from the whole thing. Now Bronx manages to track the Panthers because they're both off um, uh, Farah is trying to get away from the situation, and Taya, as the Panther, is trying to get away. Is trying to find him and track him down. And I thought
The fact
that
that the
was
mom insisted on joining them,
yeah,
I loved that.
yes. Well, I mean, look,
So Lisa's like, "Mom, just go back to the city. We'll take care of this." And she's like, "You think I'm going to let you go into the jungle, chasing after a wounded panther and a woman with a gun?
yeah.
You got another thing coming."
Yes. Like there is no way. I don't like even as a friend, like I would never allow it. And I have no skills, but I would be like, I can't, for the
Yeah,
life of
I'm
me,
not letting you. Yeah, I'm going to.
yeah,
You're
I
not
gotta
going.
find out if you're okay. It would make me really upset if waiting to find out if you're okay. And then so Bronx is on the scent, and he directly leads them to Karadigi, and they are tracking the Panthers. Now, at some point, they're trying to figure out where they are, but they split up. They say, okay, you guys go this way, I will go this way. So it looks like the offsprings are off together and the parents are
Mhm.
together. So which is kind of a nice opportunity
Because
for
in this moment, both kids were upset at their respective parents
yes,
and vice versa because they were
mhm,
each having a similar debate.
yeah, similar but also
you know,
opposing debate too. Yeah.
it's just the two parent, children things. We're both having a similar argument about keeping secrets.
Hmm. Hmm. Yeah.
Specifically, the parent keeping secrets,
Yes.
or
The
one of them
parents
keeping secrets.
parents keeping secrets. And I think for as we go on, we approach this kind of thing like their differences in their their arguments with their parents, but and for in particular, they're both having issues
Mhm.
with their parents for different reasons, but also similar reasons. It's really wild.
And this
And
was a good opportunity for both of them,
yeah.
for Angela and Lisa to vent at each other and give each other perspectives on their
Hmm.
situation,
Hmm.
but also for Goliath to hear from another parent
Yes, yes, yes,
and to get that advice, because this is new to him.
yes, yes. It's really I think yes, this is new to him based on his culture. Like
Yeah,
this is
it's
culturally, this is how this has always been. And
it's what he says to her. He's like,
yeah.
well, in my culture, I don't remember if he says that exact word, but in my culture, all hatchlings
Hmm.
are considered, you know, parent, you know, of the entire clan.
Hmm.
And she's like, well, there's no, she's the only hatchling around you right now.
Exactly. Exactly. She is the one that's here. And so I think um this is where uh he gets to realize that even if like if there were four of them, he's still dad, you know. And he's the only person from their clan, and that's there as well on his
Mhm,
part. So he has to be a dad to her. Has to be um, a little a little bit different than how things have been done for a long time. Maybe this is also another opportunity for the clan to grow better, to become
mhm,
a better um, unit by him at least expressing some things to his daughter, expressing love, because that's another thing. He's been turning away from her and making her feel
mhm.
out of uh you know, separate from him. And so they've been lacking that closeness that she's just craving. And so yeah, that was really great. And I love with Elisa, she's like complaining about her mom, like, oh, she wants to know more, she wants to know details. And she Angela's like, that's a bad thing. Like, I want my dad to talk to me the way your mom talks to you. And you know, so it's like the grass is greener on the other side for both of them, but also it's like you know, I think there needs to be a bending of or uh, uh, an acceptance. And I think the acceptance in the way is like Goliath needed to hear the words from somebody else who was a little bit more grounded as a parent.
Mhm.
And then Elisa needed to hear the words from somebody who wasn't getting that kind of attention or love or, um,
Because it's
you know,
that is spot on for what it is.
yeah, yeah,
It, it it's not always the gentle that the kid wants it to be,
yeah.
but sometimes it's what's needed, and it is always coming from a place of love.
Yes, exactly, exactly. So yeah, that was fascinating and wonderful. And I thought that was great. Um, they along the way, these guys get into different booby traps, and one of the booby traps that they get into leads Diane. Um, Maza and also Goliath in this area. And this is where they have their little talk. And then this is my favorite part.
I love she's explaining that to him as she's like taking the webs off of him.
Yes, and she's being a motherly to him. This is also a great way for her to bond with him since they kind of got off on the wrong foot. I mean, not totally on the wrong foot, but she's like, you know, these creatures. You know, she was
Yeah,
like a little bit
it
like,
didn't take her long to see how much they mean to her daughter. So she's like, okay,
yeah, yeah.
I
She's
I, I will get to know.
my daughter's future husband.
My daughter's friend.
Yes.
Mother knows.
Yeah. And she's like, we're gonna keep our eye on that. And I love this part because they're climbing out of there, and there's spiders everywhere. And she's like, "Oh, why did it have to be spiders?" And I'm thinking the same thing. I'm like, "Yes, why did this episode have to be about spiders?" And I absolutely am terrified of them. But this becomes my favorite episode just because of all of the story development and character development that's in it is just incredible. So we get this incredibly big showdown finally with Farah McCoo turning into a human and admitting that he marked Taya to keep her with him as to be with him forever. He didn't want her to leave, and that was a bad thing. Um, and, and I'm glad they acknowledged that oh yes, that was terrible for you to mark somebody with this curse. And in return, I suppose
And
he
think it's
was
partially because of why he did it.
yes,
She
yes,
was ready to go and explore the city, and he didn't want to lose her.
yeah, and so he made her life miserable in the process.
Rather than sitting down having a conversation with her, he
Mhm.
tracked down Anansi and did this so he could keep his girlfriend.
Yeah, bad boyfriend. And so it was. I'm so glad that they referred to this and said, look, this is not the way to handle this.
Yeah, that's not love, that's control.
Yes, yes. And so as sort of a tie-in to this sort of curse. Anansi has him, do all of the hunting for him, and that's why he's so fat. And there, he's huge. And so that is kind of the reason why he's got like lots of offspring all over. There's spiders everywhere. So that was awesome. Like, who where's the other part to this, spider, sort of having all of these spiders. And as you mentioned before, the voice of the spider, which is quite terrifying, and also it sounds like there's a bit of manipulation to make that sound, is LeVar Burton just knocking it right out of the
In
ballpark.
being a Star Trek fan and somebody who watched Reading Rainbow well beyond what
Oh
I
yes.
should have,
Mhm.
to go back and listen to this and you're like, no.
Yeah. This is the scary guy? Oh my
this,
god.
this is LeVar Burton?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it just lets you know what kind of potential that he has as an actor, that he can do this voice and be scary, like, because it is very scary. And just also his power set uh, is 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 incredible, like to be able to uh, turn people into were monsters is or were animals is very, very intriguing, where his powers come from and what he can do. So the next thing that really is that we discover that Anansi has a big plan, which is to have everyone there become a slave to feed him, basically. And it is one of the moments in the story in which you're like, oh snap, how are they going to get out of this? I thought there was going to be like a part two, because I was like, they cannot wrap this up in such a small time. And so it's really one of those like helpless moments where you're trying to figure out how these guys are going to get out of. What did you think when you discovered the Anansi's plan?
The fact that, and it, words, work please. like Lisa's mother does, because he makes an offer to them, and she's like, "Yeah, all of your stuff comes with a price, trickster." That keeps coming back, and I love it.
Hmm.
with
Oh
all
yeah.
with all of these ones, it's these tricksters that are all over the globe
Hmm.
causing mischief.
Yeah, yeah. And Puck comes to mind right away when I think about that.
And
And
we've
so,
come across tricksters in multiple areas at this point.
yeah, yes, yes. And so it's just uh kind of it kind of is one of the reasons why I love those stories, because there's always um there's what you see on the front facing, and then there's the truth, which is right underneath.
Mhm.
So he has this offer is not really an offer.
Yeah.
It's not really an offer. His plan is definitely to enslave them. And
Well,
Angela,
sorry, go ahead.
you go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say, like, just after they turn him down is when he grabs Faramaku and starts, like, binding him up in the web. And
Mhm,
Taya, that's when something snaps in her,
mhm.
as you hear her do that cry of, like, "She got my boy."
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I
She got my
love
boo.
that moment because that was like, at that moment, you know that she still cares about him,
Mhm.
and also, uh, all this time she was angry at him, but she really, you're the one,
Yeah.
who,
She was ready to
who,
kill. She was ready to
yeah,
kill Anansi.
yeah, oh yeah, and so that changed her her attention, as far as like, this is the person, or this is the being responsible for all my pain and suffering. And
Mhm.
that you sense in her voice how much pain she must have gone through in her. It was horrible. Especially, like, you can hear it in her voice.
And
Like, you
you
can,
can
like,
also
literally
hear when
hear it
she
in
does
her voice.
this. When it's just she doesn't even just says his for the first half of his name,
Yes.
and you can hear all of the anguish and all of the love she has for him simultaneously in that one cry. And I know I can't do it justice, so I'm not going to.
Yeah, I mean, um, uh, the voice actress for this, uh, she really was able to
I could not
just,
find her name, but yeah, she
yeah, I didn't see her
beautiful
on
job.
the list. She did a fantastic job because you feel all the rage and all of the pain when she speaks
Mhm,
in like every single line. And this was sort of a great moment for her to finally take the stand against the true cause of her pain. And so that definitely w deserves a round of applause right there.
absolutely.
And then, in the heat of everything, there is a battle that kind of breaks out, and Angela is the one who says, "Hey, we've gotta cut the web to make him helpless. He's really, too
He
strong."
he can't he can't stand up under his own weight.
Yes, because he's he's too fat at this point. And so, they work together, and he actually becomes defeatable. And it doesn't. What I like about this is that the curse does not go away for the lovers. They still have the curse, of the spider, that to be wear panthers. And so oh, this is the moment that
Mhm,
Elisa's mom gives him a firm talking to and says, yes, your words come with a price.
yep,
And so, um uh uh yes, so the lovers use the curse. They say that they're going to use it to protect the village from any harm, which is really kind of cool. Imagine being in a village and you have these two people who can protect the village by turning into panthers, and that's another lore within itself. So that's really cool. I love that, and I love their pledge to be the protectorates of their village, which is sort of the theme of this entire series, that of protecting the places where we live. And
Yeah, and the fact that pretty much everywhere they go, they leave behind a protector of that area.
ooh, I love that. And that
Right?
really comes into place later on. That's a great observation. Yes, that is so true. And we're just getting these little stories and snippets of adventures, but they're also it seems like they're building a nice um conglomerate, if you will, of good guys that they can that they can connect with later, but also to protect our planet Earth
Mhm.
in general. And yes, we are going to get more stories with that sort of flavor in it. Um, and I do love that. So the really great thing about this is that we finally get this moment with Goliath telling Angela that he is very proud of her, and he actually calls her his daughter. And
I don't
she's
think it's the
like,
first time he said it to her. Like he
yes.
did say it to mm, the character's name has escaped me. But back when they were in the Egyptian temple, he did
Oh,
refer to
Amir?
her as
Amir.
yeah, yeah. Uh, he did refer to her as his daughter at that point.
Okay.
So you can see he was struggling with it even then.
Yes.
But for him to finally say it to her
Hmm. That
is
was, yeah, that was a
big.
monumental moment. I was so proud of him, and I was so glad she was able to hear that and and absorb the fact that he was noticing her hard work and her abilities. And this is not the first time that Angela has been very observant and very much a leader. So,
Mhm.
or not only leader, but somebody who has come up with a great idea or notices something incredible. Because remember back in the episode with the totem poles, she knew something was wrong. She's a highly observant character, and keep our eye out for Angela. She's got a bright future, and it was really great because they embrace. And just when they're embracing, of course, the sun comes up and turns them to stone, and it is a beautiful moment right there. What did when that happened? How did you feel?
That is you said it right there. It is such a heartwarming moment, for him to finally, you know, bond with the girl that he is finally that he is accepting as his daughter.
Yeah,
Like you could see he was struggling with it, that he was kind of there in the last batch we watched,
yeah.
but for him to finally fully accept this is big. And it's such a it's a great feeling, great moment to sit there and watch this because you're
Mhm.
doing this with them.
Yeah, yeah. It just feels so, um, it just pulls you right into
Mm,
the story. And yeah, I was like, oh, this is so sweet. This is one of the reasons why I love this episode. So many things happen, and it's not over yet because Elisa and her mother are kind of talking to each other at the end, and Elisa says, I'm gonna tell you not just the secret about this. I'll tell you the entire story during the day before um, the
we got a
gargoyles.
lot of catching up to do.
Yeah, and it was really nice to see her finally say, "I'm gonna tell you the whole story, not just." The cliff notes, not just like catch you up on stuff for just to keep you up for the last few episodes. She's starting from them meeting a year ago to
Hmm.
now, and it's just really wonderful to see. I was beaming with happiness, and again, this is my favorite story, even though it has spiders in it, and I'm terrified of spiders. So that was really great. Now, the next episode is, I would say, equally fantastic. This one actually got some teary eyes from me at the end, and that surprised me. So this one is called Pendragon. Now, just to clarify, anyone who's looking at Disney Plus for this, according to Disney Plus, the next episode after the Mark of the Panther is Sentinel. And I actually had watched Sentinel and put everything together for Sentinel, and then realized, oh, wait a minute, Pendragon is supposed to be the one that we start with for episode 35. So there will be
I wound up watching most of Eye of the Storm. So
yeah, that one's coming. Yeah, that's the one after that. And yes, so we'll be a little bit out of order for some of you, but Pendragon is the episode we're referring to here. And so, and boy, is it a really intriguing episode. So on the Previously On, it shows us Elisa awakening King Arthur, and Goliath tells him to look up his clan in Manhattan. It's pretty straightforward, and and I think it reflects very well what happens in the story, or at least gives us a good reference for it. So then the first thing we see is Macbeth and two goons that are preparing for something, and they're not sure exactly what it is, but there's a storm brewing, and then even the Manhattan clan in New York is noticing, hey, look, there's a weird feeling coming on, especially Hudson is feeling this. Something strange is happening.
Oh, he's seen something like that before.
Yes.
Where the teens they're like, the weatherman didn't predict any storms.
Yeah. And Hudson is like, no. This isn't
a normal storm, kids.
Yeah. And so that was actually kind of a good tip off that something supernatural may be going on here. Now it goes to England. We go to England, and who do we see? We see King Arthur, and he's just arriving to England. London at this point in time. But I noticed this small little detail, which maybe we might find out more about, or maybe it's a hint at what we were talking about, the boats. So when he gets off of the boat,
it sinks.
It sinks. So I'm wondering.
Like, your journey's over.
Yes. Yes. So I'm like, oh, so when I guess that's why this boat that Goliath is on is still going, because hey, your journey is not over until I sink. And that was really incredible. I love that little detail, because as soon as I saw it, I was like, there's something going on there. And when he gets to London, he is being watched, and it's Griffith Griff is watching him. And as we learned from the previous episodes, he was set up to protect London, which is a wonderful little setup there. And Griff decides, hey, look, I'm going to make myself known, because actually King Arthur breaks into a church, because it's been, since his time, churches were open. Now they're being locked. And so he breaks in. And so Griff is like, okay, what's going on? before they get into any kind of fights, they actually talk, which is I'm like, oh, they actually talk.
Refreshing.
Yeah, which is like, oh, different. What is this talking? And go. They realize that they have a friend in common, Goliath, and it's really cool because like, oh, Goliath is making himself a sort of a famous, renowned far and wide, and and just by knowing Goliath, it makes them friends, technically, like quote unquote
Yeah.
friends, and that works for because King Arthur has is trying to find something, and maybe it's Excalibur, but he reached this piece of stone that is what would you how would you describe this stone? It's like
I I
wedged into a throne or something?
I think it's actually something that's in one of the abbeys in London,
Oh,
what
okay.
surrounding that myth, and correct me if I'm wrong, someone in the chat. But I'm fairly certain that it's, you know, just a regular plain looking stone that it, like she says, is set inside the throne, the bottom of the throne. But you can see it's got a little slit in it. The stone's starting to talk. That was new.
Yes, so that was kind of interesting. The stone lights up and starts talking to King Arthur and gives him a riddle to solve. And Griff is actually the one to help to solve this puzzle.
Oh,
And
Griff knows the
that
riddle.
yeah, and that transports him to a new location. Now, the thing that and which I see here and it's reminding me as part of the thing that the stone has said is that King Arthur will need to prove that he's worthy of Excalibur again. And so
Mhm.
that is a part of this is like, yeah, you lost King the sword, and so now you've got to prove that you're to get it back, and that was really awesome. So it switches gears now, and so now we're back in New York City, and uh I was really confused about this. Macbeth is decided he wants more power. This doing this thing. So he says that he sees the storm is coming, and he wants to be in the middle of this to attain as many or as much power as possible. So he's not even sure what is coming, and he's not sure what's going to happen, but he wants power. What did you think about this? About seeing this and seeing Macbeth going after more power. What do you think he's planning?
Oh, with Macbeth, you can never really be sure what he's planning.
Yeah.
You know, he's kind of the master of that kind of stuff.
Mhm.
What stood out to me is the spell he's using while working with that swirling, smoking cauldron is the same one used for the Phoenix Gate.
Ooh.
Because you can hear him saying that the Desligarate Muori Tempi et Intravalia.
Okay. I did not recognize that.
This is why we do this together, because you catch things I'll miss and I catch things you miss.
So and the Phoenix Gate, as we know, is a time traveling device.
Mhm.
And so um actually I'm really I'm not sure if this spell is what helped to bring what it brings, but or if it worked. Do you think it worked, or do you think it was just something
I think
he
it
was
was.
using to channel
I think
it?
he was using to channel to help encourage whatever it was that was coming through. Clearly, in this case, it was not a time travel thing, but
Yeah.
it did seem to open up the gate.
Hmm. Okay. Okay. So yes, it was used as a means to bring whatever is coming. He can sense something's coming to directly to him. And just about at that point, the Manhattan clan is flying around and notices him. I do have a, and
He
they're
does
like,
kind of stand out because he's standing on the top of a New York building with this big smoking cauldron.
yeah. And so they're like, yeah, there he is. What's going on?
Yeah,
And the storm is
that's not
getting,
normal.
and as all this is happening, the storm is getting really much more aggressive and scarier. And it opens up, and out comes King Arthur and Griff. So the chair transported them here, and because of Macbeth's use of magic, it comes right on that rooftop, and that is actually a great culmination of all of these magical forces together. And again, there are the Manhattan clan to kind of come intervene in all of this. And when King Arthur sees Macbeth, he says his name, but Macbeth is unsure that they've even met before. So he's like,
His
huh?
memory was wiped, so.
Yeah. And so, but he seems to remember him later, or or he knows of the tale
Well,
of.
he if you remember when we were in one of the previous episodes, I think it's the one where Hudson and Broadway that led to them learning to read.
Okay.
Broadway asks him, "Well, did you know King Arthur? Like, you
Oh.
speak it like you know, like you knew him," and he's like, "That's way before my time. I'm not that old."
Yeah.
So even at that point, King Arthur was a legend when Macbeth was little.
Yeah. And I think it was very interesting because he knows of King Arthur, he knows of the legend, but I think he's not sure how King Arthur knows of him.
Well,
So yeah,
yeah,
so
he's like, "Do you know me?"
yeah. So I suppose
Yeah.
that's going to come into play at some point. Now, the New York City Gargoyles interrupt all of this, and Macbeth leaves very quickly. And I was like, "Whoop." So
Mhm.
he came there to just cause some trouble and then leave. He's too funny. Well, I think he realizes, like, hey, it's just it's just a gargoyle and King Arthur, no big deal.
Yeah.
It
It's just the guy I read about and idolized as a kid.
Yeah, yeah. And so he leaves, but he's not done yet, not quite. But at the moment he's gone. But the group exchanges information about what they know about Goliath, and they're not really gonna get any answers right now because they nobody knows
Mhm.
what's going on. And King Arthur wants to find Excalibur, and he and Macbeth wants to know why the strangers are there. So he summons this use of a magic light, or what he called a wisp, to
Mhm.
spy on them and find out what's going on. And so this is really interesting. They go to Central Park and they find that the lady of the lake is there, and she tells Arthur that he needs to prove himself as a leader again. So there again, he is asked to prove that himself. And there's a water monster that emerges and relatively is he captures the water monster, captures King Arthur, and he relatively kind of figures out a way to destroy the monster quite easily
Mhm.
with the help of Griff. And so um, the next thing is that
For curiosity, like, up until this point, were you like kind of suspecting that Griff was going to be the one that earned Excalibur?
ooh, I didn't think about that. Interesting.
I won't lie, that was running through my head the entire time.
Really, really. Yeah, yeah. I mean, he does. have the qualities that are needed. He is very courageous, generally a good guy all the way around.
Mhm.
Was down for the program immediately. Um, and yeah, I mean, he's definitely worthy. I think he's worthy. Um, but I wasn't sure how, I'm still wondering the part that King Arthur is playing in the story. So, but when he talks about finding Excalibur and getting all of these legendary, getting this legendary sword, you kind of, I kind of rooted for him to get it because, you know, who does it belong to? It's always been King Arthur. That's the one that has wielded the sword, and that we're used to hearing that had the sword. So the gargoyles really help him. Lexington, um uh the lady of the lake gives them a riddle to figure out, and so Lexington figures out that they need to go to the botanical gardens in Brooklyn. And
Mhm.
so that was actually kind of cool. I was like, yay, we're going to the botanical
I love that you actually captured that conversation. And he's
gardens.
like, "No, she means Brooklyn." And he's like, "What?"
Not you.
The city.
Yeah, and there we see that that orb of light is capturing all of this. So Macbeth is listening in the whole time, and so it is actually kind of annoying that he's part of this story. I'm like, Macbeth, get out of here! This is we want to. Stop mucking up the story. But it is, he is after power, and so when he learns about this, he's like, "Ooh, yeah, Excalibur. That sounds like a nice little thing to add to my collection." And so he has hatched a plan that his goons would go to intercept and distract them as he gets to the sword first at the botanical gardens, and that was actually quite interesting. I was like, okay, I'll bite for a story, and so um, Macbeth uh, Macbeth pulls the sword from the stone, and he declares for himself to be the true king, and King Arthur gets there like second, and he's like, no, that whole thing. Now,
Yeah.
when you saw Macbeth grab the Excalibur, what did you think at that point? Did you think he was going to keep it, or
Well, yeah,
what do you
that
think
that
he was
was
going to do with it?
well, Macbeth with that kind of power, would be that's not a good thing. They really did play that one up though. That it would be so believable that it could be either way.
Yeah, yeah. And the two men are definitely an interesting match, like as far as uh, them fighting against each other. I think they are about a draw,
Mhm.
and so that was really cool. So and yes, uh, Macbeth has his goons intercept the Manhattan Clan, and they kind of wipe the floor with just a little, and it's a really kind of it's a little comical, but also like it's just showing how effective Macbeth's machines are. Those machines are incredibly um, valuable, and they're very effective. And these guys are not the smartest goons ever, but they use them in a.
Well, henchman.
Yeah. What I love is that they're because he being a gargoyle, he can dig his fingers into the stone. And that seems Macbeth has his goons intercept the Manhattan Clan, and they kind of wipe the floor with just a little, and it's a really kind of it's a little comical, but also it's just showing how effective Macbeth's machines are. Those machines are incredibly valuable, and they're very effective. And these guys are not the smartest goons ever, but they use them in a
henchman.
yeah. What I love is that the female henchman is like just as buff as the dude. And she's like she's not that smart. She's I loved it. And they're actually comical. These guys could have their own spin-off story, actually. Now, in the middle of all of this fighting, the dragon, which is made out of pure stone, it comes to life and it grabs King Arthur and Macbeth and flies off. And the Manhattan Clan has managed to, at about that time, defeat the two goons and have decided to chase after, just to make a difference in this fight. And it is brutal. They're flying above New York City and fighting with this huge monstrosity made out of stone. Now, Griff is basically the secret weapon in all of this, because he, being a gargoyle, he can dig his fingers into the stone, and that seems to really get that creature really riled up. Every time that happens, it really stings it. And so that moment, I was like, wow, there's something going on here that is really changing the storyline here, because of being able to grab the hold of this monster. Now, King Arthur figures out that this creature, the Excalibur, must be inside of this red stone that's in the center of its chest. It's like,
as soon as he picks up the Excalibur that Macbeth grabbed, Macbeth is like, "No, that's mine." He's like, "You can have it. It's fake."
yes. So the sword that Macbeth has is a fake sword, and that is pretty interesting that they would put a fake sword on the outside to sort of throw everyone off. But only Arthur would know that it was a fake sword, wouldn't he? Yeah, I mean, which is pretty cool. I mean, technically they could have had Macbeth run off with the sword, and he would have thought that he had it all this time, but it was a fake. And so he breaks this red stone and retrieves the actual Excalibur. And at that point, they defeat this beast, and it is definitely recognized even by Macbeth that for sure King Arthur is the true king. He's the true king, and the sword is his. And so he I thought it was very interesting, the exchange between them. Macbeth says that he's been a king for too long to serve under another man, but if he ever needs help, he can definitely he can definitely call on Macbeth. And I thought that was really nice. I'm like, wait a minute, is Macbeth becoming a nice guy? Is he a good guy now?
I don't think he was ever really 100% a bad guy until they mind swapped him with Demona.
Yes. When they start messing with his brain, I think that's when things got a little bit murky.
Well, and that was his whole motivation originally, was just to protect his people and do the right thing.
Hmm. Hmm. Yeah, and I think throughout this whole storyline for Macbeth, he's really been tossed around a lot, and he's confused a lot, but this is the moment I think he gets kind of a awareness, like, yes, the sword belongs to you, and actually there's an honor within him. He actually has an honorable heart in the middle of all of this. So yeah, I love that for Macbeth. I mean, Macbeth he's been through so much. So especially his whole storyline with Demona and everything. So he gets a pass, but it looks like he's going to be one of the good guys now. I won't ask any further because I know what's going to happen later on.
There is. I did miss some of season 3, or a good portion of season 3. So at that point, we'll be watching it together with fresh eyes.
Okay. Okay. Good. And so on the rooftop at the clock tower, King Arthur is with the boys, and he says that he has to go back out there and do another quest. He needs to find Merlin now. So Merlin is going to be a part of the story. I'm like, yes! What did you think when you heard that?
I mean, you can't have King Arthur without Merlin.
Yes, yes. I mean, I did love that. So I'm definitely looking forward to that. And the next thing that is really happening now is Griff gets knighted, and that was wonderful. I was like, oh, I love the fact that they were playing it off as if he wasn't gonna be. And then he, he turned it around and just was like, "Hey, look, I'm gonna knight you, and you'll be my champion." And it was great. What did you think of this moment?
With everything we've seen Griff do in what's in his soul, this was earned.
Yes.
Decades ago.
Yes.
So this was something. It was nice to see him get recognition for his character.
Yeah.
Something that just drives who he is.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. And it's tied in with his country. It's tied in with just his personality and wanting to help out, wanting to change. This is great, to fight evil, if you will. And so yeah, I loved it. And I got like a little chills when this happened, when they turned to stone. It was like tears falling down. Like, wow, this is so awesome. And yeah, that was just an emotional moment. And it surprised me because I was like, this really feels like it's honorable. It's shaping up to be um it's really shaping up to be something that's really regal and important. This is important, and so I really love this moment. What about you?
Like I said, this was really a long time coming for him. You know, I won't say that it was tears for me, but it was definitely a proud moment.
Yeah, it was. Yes, it was a really great moment, and just, I don't know. I guess seeing all of these guys turn to stone at the same time at that very moment was like it was encapsulating a certain pride and a certain like nobility in it, and yeah, that was great. And we're all finished with the episode. And now we come to the homework for next week, week 13. We are still in season 2. We need to do episode 36, Eye of the Storm, episode 37, The New Olympians, episode 38, The Green and episode 39, Sentinel, which is a great episode, I have to say.
Eye of the Storm is good too, but the green is one. I think that one falls under one of my favorites as well. Like,
Really?
I'm with you. Mark of the Panther is definitely one like of this group is definitely one of my favorites.
Yeah.
But the green as well. That's another one.
Awesome. I can't wait. I can't wait. I trust your opinion on this because yeah, so far they've just been so great, and I can't wait to see this one. And I know, are we coming up on that? Well, we've got a little ways before we get to the gathering, which is I'm really anticipating the gathering. Because we did get a hint of it, right? We did get a hint of it, and
we are going to hear more of it as we go now. Now that that's been put out there, we are going to hear more about it.
This is going to be, that's going to be great. And so, yes, everyone, that is the homework for next week, and see. And that settles it. And I guess we'll see you guys next week. Have a good one and enjoy watching Gargoyles with us. Take care.
Later.
All right, guys. Oh, wow. That was rocky. We got through it. It was, these were some of the best episodes. I have to say they weren't the best. I mean, because there's like, I don't know if I could choose a best episode just yet, but maybe that's the challenge. At the end, maybe we'll put together a list of our top 10 episodes, and maybe that'll be a thing that we do on our last one. But yes, thank you so much for being with us. I'm going to post here. You go. This is the homework for next week, week 13. It's going to be a lot of fun. Hopefully, I will be better by then. I will feel a lot better, and it won't be. You'll actually see me instead of the icon here. Let's see if I can figure out if I can tell you what's coming up next on the channel. We have, hope you guys were able to catch the 1984 celebration. That was really great. Of music the last 40 years, really amazing. Let's see. Look out for something in your community tabs on Thursday, because I will be posting whatever show that I do with Sil Abdul. It's going to be a really great show because it's going to be talking about a lot of the modern day stuff. So it'll be modern takes from me, of some conversations that are zooming around the zeitgeist, if you will. Then on Saturday, Dirty Rotten Scoundrels 1988 watch party. That is going to be awesome. Then you can catch me later on that day with Lorena Creole. We're going to be watching Pocahontas. That's going to be a lot of fun. Then I'll actually do an extra day. Usually I don't do anything on Sunday, but we'll be back with The Heron's Labyrinth, author Douglas A. Burton, and he's going to be here to answer some questions that we may have about his theories about story structure and, all of the archetypes he told us about in his book. And this is going to be really exciting. It definitely a more literary type of talk that we're going to have, but this is we're talking about things that are tropes that are in stories that we've loved our whole lives, and it goes alongside the hero's journey, which is wonderful. And so if you can join us for that. That would be amazing. Again, if you haven't seen the episode we had with Douglas, where he did go into detail about that. Please check that out on my channel under the live streams. That was such an epic show. But at least if you're gonna watch about maybe the first 45 minutes, the first hour, he really breaks down everything there that you need to know about this theory that he has. Then I think they'll be doing it for the week, and I can't wait to get to see Dirty Rotten Scoundrels with you guys. That's going to be a lot of fun. That's going to be a lot of fun. And oh, look at this. Wait a minute. Lance Chafin just came in. Hello, Lance. How are you? And Lance says, happy early birthday. Is it your birthday, Amy Jo? Is it your birthday soon, Amy Jo? Let me know. I will be sure to let you know. Oh, in June. On June is your birthday. Oh, okay. And okay, so yes, we're all set and we're ready to go. And I will put the closing video in here. Guys, without further ado, I bid you adieu. And I will see you in the next video. Be sure to do the homework so that way we can go over week 13 for the Gargoyles next week. Bye.
Retro Nerd Girl, you are clear for takeoff.